The first hotel I'm staying at Singapore this time is Pan Pacific Singapore, an absolute stalwart of the Marina Bay area. To be honest, I've been to Singapore over 10 times and I've stayed at almost every single 5-star hotel around Marina Bay. Yet I'd never stayed at this particular one, which opened back in November 1986, mainly because I always assumed it would feel too dated and overly massive. Funny enough, I recently found out that just like the Mandarin Oriental opposite and the Park Royal Collection Marina Bay, formerly Marina Mandarin, it was designed by the legendary architect John Portman. Back in the 1970s and 80s, the Singapore government reclaimed land to develop the Marina Centre area. Portman Holdings teamed up with several syndicates like Singapore Land to secure the massive integrated development rights for the entire area, which became known as the Marina Square project. Since these three properties were designed by the same architect, it's no wonder that the moment you walk in, you instantly recognize the same fan-shaped DNA found at the MO. Because this hotel is the largest of the three, it brings out John Portman's architectural style the best. What also makes this hotel stand out among the three is its transparent glass elevators. Staying above the 33rd floor like I am this time, you can catch views of the Padang, the annual National Day Parade site, right from the lift. As I mentioned earlier, I skipped this hotel for years because I thought the rooms were dated, but after a 5-month, 34 million Singapore dollar renovation in 2023, I finally feel like its quality is on par with its peers. Plus, at an average of around 2,000 Hong Kong dollars a night, it's essentially the most affordable 5-star hotel in Marina Bay. Its entry-level rooms are also the largest in the area. You can see how spacious and high quality it feels. Personally, I think the refurbished rooms are better than its counterpart at Mandarin Oriental across the street. Well, maybe not as good as Park Royal's judging from my stay in 2022, but at this price point, it's still fantastic value for money. The bathroom is flawless too. It comes fully equipped with a separate walk-in shower and a bathtub, and the space is massive. Granted, the marble layout inevitably shows its age, but it doesn't pale in comparison with the newly renovated master bedroom. For bathroom amenities, it used Joe Love's, which is soothing and youthful. Another aspect that really impressed me is the exemplary performance of its staff and crowd control. Imagine how many business travelers they have to handle daily, especially with Suntec City Convention Center right next door. Food and beverage services is usually the ultimate litmus test for this, particularly breakfast, and they passed with flying colors. For example, The Edge, which served the buffet breakfast, is probably a familiar name to some Hong Kong travelers for its famous global-style buffet. Even though my last visit at the restaurant was nearly a decade ago, judging by the breakfast selection and food quality, the standards haven't dropped a bit. This buffet breakfast was around 30 Singapore dollars a day after discount provided by staff, which is extremely reasonable for a 5-star hotel buffet breakfast. Of course, if you're a fan of the Ya Kun, there's a branch right across the Marina Square, but this breakfast definitely is not bad either. On the other hand, the Chinese restaurant Hai Tien Lo left me a bit disappointed. Mind you, I went for a relatively mid-price set menu, but the quality of the dishes was hit or miss. The good ones included the Peking duck, crispy skin, fragrant meat, and the Fo Tiao Qiang, which is packed with ingredients and with a beautifully rich texture. The seafood ifu noodles were also aromatic and perfectly sourced. However, some dishes felt a bit off. The passion fruit mustard prawns tasted great on their own, but serving them with watermelon just isn't right. The Iberico pork was a bit tough, and the barbecue sauce lacked fragrance. Then there were dishes like the sliced fish and black bean sauce. While the black bean flavor was rich without being overpowering, the texture and taste of the fish fell flat. Because they used boneless fish fillets, the meat simply isn't a good match with the sauce. Lastly, what really highlighted a bit of style over substance was a mango sago dessert. It tried to be creative, and the sago texture and flavor were actually decent, but the chocolate shell and watermelon pieces ended up ruining the original taste. There was also a piece of biscuit at the bottom, topped with pomelo that carried a hint of bitterness, making the whole combination all over the place. All in all, this set dinner is why Hai Tien Lo has fallen from grace over the past few years. At this price point, there are many better choices in Singapore. To my surprise, the highlight turned out to be the laksa I had at the lounge after checking out. The laksa broth was incredibly authentic, rich in ingredients, and premium in quality. The staff service was also attentive, and most importantly, the price was very reasonable. It really highlights a post-COVID issue we often see now. Spending money doesn't guarantee a premium product anymore. It's increasingly common for places to lose sight of the fundamentals, which is incredibly frustrating for consumers who are willing to spend. When price is no longer a reliable indicator to save your information cost, it begs the question on why we need to spend more or less. Moving on to fitness facilities, I have to say I'm really impressed by the spaciousness of the gym. It is also well equipped with facilities such as treadmill, dumbbell, and my favorite, split machine. More importantly, much like the pool, it is surprisingly empty. I suppose everyone is too busy running off to meetings. All in all, this hotel completely overturned my negative impression that I had when I stayed in the group's newest property at the time, Pan Pacific Orchard 3 years ago. The staff remained incredibly efficient despite handling such massive guest numbers. MBS take note. The rooms have evolved with the times while benefiting from the generous space layouts typical of older hotels. The food is decent, and interestingly, the cheaper the better. Plus, it's probably the closest Marina Bay hotel to the MRT station. Given its relatively affordable price, I would recommend this hotel to anyone in a heartbeat.